Evening and welcome to the news here on TV2 for this Friday, March the 9th. Remember, this is news you can count on. What's happening at the Anguilla Landfill with the fire? Are you ready for a tsunami? The Federal Communication Commission is going to help our communication businesses, and federal mortgages have been extended. We'll have all the news for you in just a second, coming up right now. Welcome to the news here at TV2. I'm Alex Randall and
I'm Leslie Comisian. Good evening.
And we've got lots of news for you. It's coming up for you in just a second. First, this.
The Anguilla Landfill was visibly in flames starting in the wee hours of Wednesday morning.
The cause of the landfill fire has not been determined as yet.
The Virgin Islands Waste Management Authority temporarily closed the landfill and recommended that residents in nearby communities minimize their exposure to smoke from the landfill.
At this time, we are diligently working to suppress the fire.
The authority's Director of Engineering, Tawana Albany Nicholas, further stated that the landfill does not pose an explosive hazard, nor are residents exposed to any health hazards.
We are not aware of any gases people are exposed to, nor do we have reason to believe that there are any gases that people are exposed to, and this is based on recent discussions we've had with industry subject matter experts.
In a consent decree, the Anguilla landfill in close proximity to the Henry Rosen Airport was ordered to be closed and transferred to another location when the Federal Aviation Administration deemed that birds attracted to trash and smoke of underground fires at the location created flight hazards.
As it has been in the news for some time, the landfill, as we are reaching capacity, the landfill, our plans are to close the landfill.
Ms. Nicholas explained that the waste management hasn't been able to fulfill all decree notices.
There are regulatory requirements in that design. Unfortunately, all of those regulatory requirements are not funded as we speak.
In 2001, along with other offenses, the Environmental Protection Agency listed that the landfill violated solid waste requirements that included the presence of surface fires and long-burning underground fires. For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
Unfortunately, this is an issue that is all too familiar to those of us in the territory. We have heard of land fires at the landfill, over and over and over again. There is an abundance of methane there. The methane is no good for the environment. It's no good for the ecology. And we do not have a plan as to how we are going to properly manage our
And it
solid waste.
burns. This is the decomposition of the stuff in the landfill. It turns into methane gas. Methane gas burns. And we've had landfill fires at Anguilla, at Bavoni, at Susannaburg, and on year after year. These fires break out, and we don't seem to have a long-term plan to deal with it. It's been going on as long as I can remember.
Ms. Albany Nicholas also said that there are no known risks to the surrounding communities, but honestly, there's no way to determine the health effects that this has on the surrounding residents.
And particularly ironic, given that we've just had this conversation about the green debris, and the senators passed a resolution to not burn the green debris, and here we are basically with a landfill fire that's just like burning green debris.
If any time, this is now the time for us to make a serious decision and decide which direction we're going to go into when it comes to the management of solid waste in the territory.
Close the landfills, bundle everything, get it off island.
FITEMA is asking the community to learn more about tsunamis and engage in some of the activities that will occur from the 11th to the 17th of March.
Every year is designated in March, a week where we have activities within the territory to bring tsunami awareness to the residents. We do have a lot of partners that are participating, a lot of the schools that are in the inundation zone. We're in double session, so we're getting more schools to participate, private companies with within the inundation zone in the Christiansted and the waterfront area in St. Thomas have agreed to participate, and at a minimum, they're going to be doing walks to their safe zone. As for the activity from the 11th to the 17th, VITEMA, we're asking the community to register the Tsunami Preparedness Week activities and participate at www.tsunamizone.org.
While the tsunami siren system has been damaged due to the hurricanes, there are provisions in place according to VITEMA.
What we have decided, the vendor is now coming back into the territory, and we have approximately 10 of the sirens that what we consider intact. They still have all the pieces, they're just not operable. And so to begin the process, what they're going to do is try to get those back online. You know, there are 44 of them in the territory, and of the 44, we have like 11 that the vendor believes that they can assist us as we continue to find the dollars to have the complete repair of all the sirens.
The Virgin Islands experienced a tsunami advisory warning in the month of January, which left many residents unsettled and gathering information from different sources.
If I may add, we're also encouraging the folks in the community to have a plan. I know we had an advisory this past January, and it was a little alarming for a lot of the residents, and which is understood. However, I want the community to know if there is a warning within the territory, there is mechanisms for us to alert our community. Our wireless emergency alert is functional. Our iPod system is still functional, and we can also get direct messaging through the National Weather Service in Puerto Rico. So if there is a warning, there are measures that are in place.
Well, it would help a lot if every one of us had the VITEMA warning system on our smartphones, so that if there is a tsunami coming, we'll at least know about it through that mechanism. The sirens aren't up, 11 out of 44. And maybe when we put new ones up this time, we won't put them on tall utility poles, but maybe on top of buildings or places where they're less likely to get blown over in a hurricane.
And the question is not if we're going to get a tsunami here, it's a matter of when. Scientists have said that this region in particular is way overdue. Back in 1867, we had both a hurricane and a tsunami. We are way overdue for one, so being prepared and alert is important. I don't think this is a false alarm, people. The reality of this is more than we could possibly conceive, and having a plan for you and your family is very important.
Let me remind you of something they've said before, and I hadn't heard today. If you feel the ground shake so hard that you can't stand up, we're likely to have a tsunami very soon. You need to identify a place that's 100 feet above sea level. That's about the height of Government House in St. Thomas. You want to identify the nearest place to you that's 100 feet above sea level. If the ground shakes so hard you can't stand up, go there. You don't have to run, just walk, but be 100 feet above sea level, just in case.
We have a story on the FCC Press Conference coming up next.
A press conference held at Government House this afternoon opened the dialogue between radio station owners in the territory and FCC Chairman Pai to discuss the proposed Connect USVI fund of $204 million.
On Tuesday, before I left for Puerto Rico and then the Virgin Islands, I announced a plan, approximately $1 billion, that will be allocated excuse me, to these two jurisdictions. Of critical import was the Connect USVI plan. And part of this Connect USVI plan had a short-term component, and part of it was a long-term component. The short-term was that we recognized that, as I said, hurricane season is less than 3 months away. We want to make sure that the networks that were destroyed during hurricanes Irma and Maria, which uniquely affected the USVI, that those networks are up and restored. And so this involves a $13 million short-term infusion of money to be able to get those networks, wired and wireless, up and running.
Radio station owners got the ability to voice their concerns about the resources and equipment issues following the storm, one radio station owner was pleased with the ability to converse with the FCC chair directly.
Well, it's good to have the conversation because there's some issues that are beyond us when it comes to, owning a station is a difference from owning a tower. And many of the problems that we face here in the Virgin Islands with the cell companies, all of us was based on the tower ownership, not the independent company's ownership. And that's one of the issues. So to be able to speak with the FCC man in charge and have some questions answered was a great feeling.
Chairman Pai sees the visit as a great opportunity for him and the FCC to understand the territory's unique dynamics.
To have a chance to talk to the governor and to others in the communications industry who are involved in trying to get the Virgin Islands networks up and running again in anticipation of the next hurricane season, to me it gives me a lot of hope that there are folks that we can work with at the FCC to make sure that everyone in the U.S. Virgin Islands is connected going into what I anticipate is going to be another active hurricane season.
The importance and relevance of communications was displayed fully to this community during the two disasters that we suffered last year. And to see the FCC's top person in the territory, I think is an indication of how important it is that we maintain good communication systems and get them rebuilt as soon as possible, as the next hurricane season is less than 3 months away, as Chairman Ajit Pai mentioned.
Well, and there's so many issues to this. We want to make sure that the network is up. The broadband internet network. As turned out in the last storms, we were mostly connected by wireless communication. That came back first. Wired communication is a longer story, but that needs to be restored as well. And certainly make sure that the towers are built or restored so that the radio stations are back on the air. All of those are under discussion right now with a $13 million immediate problem-solving fund and $204 million over the longer haul, with $1 billion for us and Puerto Rico.
And there's no question that the federal government has been putting the resources where they need to be. We've been getting the type of support. I know we are probably the envy of our neighbors in the Caribbean who also suffered from these storms. So we are happy at this time and to be a territory under a government that is giving us the support that we need, both with FEMA, with SBA, now the FCC in the territory as well. This is great news.
Sometimes it's nice to be part of the United States of America. We've got more news coming up. First, weather and then sports. We'll see you in just a sec.
Well, we have some pretty dry weather. We do have some rough surf, but we have some pretty dry weather here as we take a look across the area, the Virgin Islands. We're seeing some pretty brisk trade winds, but as far as moisture goes, we are not going to be dealing with much here in the way of moisture. Nothing more than maybe a passing trade shower. Tonight, we have partly cloudy skies. It'll be humid with a temperature of 74 degrees for your overnight low. In St. John for tomorrow, partly sunny, 82. And as we head into St. Thomas, partly sunny skies here as well. 82 degrees for your daytime high for your Saturday. St. Croix, partly sunny, 86. Again, can't rule out maybe just a stray shower, but it's a pretty dry air mass. The biggest thing that we are dealing with is the rough surf and the waves. So we have waves 6 to 8 feet on the Atlantic side. We have a small craft advisory in effect and a high surf advisory as well. And we could have waves breaking at 9 to maybe 10 feet. So we have an easterly wind, 10 to 15 knots. And on the Caribbean side, a small craft advisory is in effect. The waves, 4 to 6 feet with winds out of the east at 10 to 15 knots. As we look ahead at the forecast, as I mentioned, it's a pretty dry one. We will see the high surf through the weekend. Our temperature on Sunday, 82 degrees. We have partly sunny, breezy conditions. Monday, partly sunny and humid at 82. Your overnight low, 73. Mostly sunny skies, humid once again on Tuesday at 82, and mostly sunny and humid on Wednesday as well. Back to you.
I'm Gary Anthony, and this is News 2 Sports. Happy Friday. It's a weekend extravaganza of basketball in the Virgin Islands. Let's start with the Small Fry Virgin Islands Jaguars tournament in St. Thomas. Now in its 7th year, 3 teams will be competing, one from St. Thomas, one from St. Croix, and one from Puerto Rico. The games begin tonight at 7 p.m. at Bashalti Middle School Gymnasium and continue through Sunday afternoon, March 11th.
In years past, we've had teams from Chicago, Puerto Rico, St. Croix, and a couple other places. This year, due to the hurricane, our organization decided to sponsor 2 teams from St. Croix, one from St. Croix and one from Puerto Rico, who because of the hurricane damage over there were unable to attend. So we reached out to them. We're excited to have Puerto Rico and St. Croix returning this year for a 3-team tournament. The point of this program is to take the kids that we believe have the skills to handle what the Small Fry organization, which is based in the mainland in the United States, we every year go to a tournament in Florida at Disney to compete, which are very high level basketball along the Little League baseball line. So here we're trying to teach more advanced offense formations, defense formations, switching defenses. It's somewhat a lot to expect these 12-year-olds to handle, but you'd be surprised at how well they grasp it and how interested they are to learn. And it's a lot of fun, and it's very gratifying to see their progress throughout the process, which begins around the September timeframe. So we've been at it for quite a while now, and you'll see the end product. After this tournament this week, we'll be heading to Orlando for the International Small Fry Tournament, which I believe is in April. We'll be doing games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There'll be a pig roast at Maggins Bay after the Saturday afternoon games, and we'll have an all-star game on Sunday, so it should be a lot of fun for the kids to intermingle and play some competitive high-level basketball.
On St. Croix, the Central High School 2018 varsity basketball tournament tips off Friday afternoon and continues through Sunday, with the girls' championship game at 10 a.m., followed by the boys at 11:30. Competing are St. Joseph's, St. Croix Educational Complex, Central High School, and from St. Thomas, Charlotte Amalie High School, and Ivana Eudora Keene High School. This weekend, take it to the hoop with authority.
The Federal Housing Administration announced on Thursday that the agency is extending its 180-day foreclosure moratorium for FHA-insured homeowners for an extra 60 days due to the extensive damage and continuing needs of the territory. FHA has instructed lenders and services to suspend all foreclosure action until May 18th. FHA also introduced a new option for paying pre-disaster mortgage payments without payment shock. Disaster standalone partial claim covers up to 12 months of missing mortgage payments via an interest-free second loan on the mortgage, payable only when the borrower sells the home or finances their mortgage. In addition, this new option requires no trial period or balloon payment and allows borrowers to keep their existing low interest rates and loan terms as well as their existing monthly mortgage payments.
This is particularly good news for the people who have Federal Home Administration loans on their homes. That's some 600 Virgin Islanders who purchased their house using federal funds. Well, after the disasters, it was pretty hard to make mortgage payments, and the FHA gave us 180 days of leeway. Didn't take the money away, just said you have more time to get together to make the payments. They've now extended that by an additional 60 days. Now, of course, this doesn't apply to the banks that have their mortgages on houses, but it does mean if you have an FHA loan, you get some extra time to organize the payment. Is crime happening in the Virgin Islands? Is mailing marijuana here a topic? Wait for this.
According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Stephen Bernier, 53, of St. Croix, was sentenced for conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute marijuana. According to documents filed in court between January 10, 2016 and March 8 of 2017, Bernier and other co-conspirators possessed and distributed approximately 140 kilograms of marijuana through the United States Postal Service. District Court Judge Curtis V. Gomez sentenced Bernier to 36 months in prison, followed by 3 years of supervised release, and ordered him to pay $100 in special assessments and perform 300 hours of community service. On November 3, 2017, Bernier pleaded guilty to conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute marijuana. The case was investigated by the United States Postal Inspection Service and Homeland Security Investigations. It was prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Sigrid M. Tiho Sprout.
I think that this, of course, adds to the debate about what the Virgin Islands plans to do about marijuana. The fact that people are taking the risk of bringing it in through the United States Postal Service, which obviously has repercussions, shows that there is a demand for this product. And the time has come for us to decide what exactly we're going to do. We're one of only 20 jurisdictions in the country that don't have some type of decriminalized recreational marijuana or medical marijuana. And the Virgin Islands has to determine what we're going to do, or else we're going to continue to see cases just like this. We have the Carnival schedule coming up. Carnival is right around the corner.
Carnival's about to happen.
Alex, tell us a little bit about what's going to go down.
Well, starting March 31st, we have the Calypso Elimination Tent to find out who's going to get to be in the Calypso competition. The Queen Show is April 14th. Everybody loves the Queen Show because it's so exciting and so much beautiful music and beautiful looking ladies.
And then there's the opening of the village, where I try to go and get either my conch or Wilkes. That has to be on the menu for Carnival.
Boat races and Steel Pan Jamboree April 22nd. Senior citizens, the Quail Bay Tramp on the 24th of April.
That's one of my favorites.
And then we get to the food fair. You and I will both go there. The 25th of April, Good Eats.
And I heard you're going to be competing in the Calypso tent,
Absolutely.
So look out for Alex this year.
You'll hear me sing.
We have a story coming up on a sailing tournament right now.
Well, the sailboat tournament's coming up because the St. Thomas Yacht Club is putting together a special event. It's an international regatta. It comes up March the 8th through the 10th on St. Croix. Now, this has been held in St. Thomas in years in the past. Now it's on St. Croix, and with the extraordinary situation we've had, it's been moved, and it's coming up March 9th through the 11th. For young people, the opportunity to sail in the regatta is super exciting.
And of course, this is Virgin Islands History Month, and we would like for our community to send us in stories about Virgin Islanders that you know that have accomplished a great deal. I've been celebrating it on my local radio show. I've been talking about profiles of outstanding Virgin Islanders, and there's so much history, Virgin Islanders, that have contributed to not only here in the U.S. Virgin Islands, but in the world in general.
It's also Women's History Month, so if you've got a Virgin Island woman story, that's even better. Send it to us. We'll share it with everyone.
We'd like to thank you for joining us this evening and making us part of your evening.
And remember, it's your news show, so if you see something, get out your smartphone, shoot a picture, shoot a video, send it to us. We'll share it with everyone. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you on Monday.
Good night.